Hi everyone, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Today I just wanted to do a short little tutorial to make these super cute magnetic bookmarks. So these are the kind of bookmarks that you would put on the side or the top of a page. So I'm just gonna, let me just pull out a journal here it's a journal I'm working on currently. I'm just trying to find a page here. Okay, so this is kind of a cardstock page, but you could do it on, any regular page, whatever kind of page. So it's a magnetic bookmark, so you just open it up and you put it on the page that you want to mark, and then you can see it in your pages there. And you can put it on the side or you can put it on the top. Now, some of these have words, going in that direction, but like this one, for instance, could go either way. You could put it on the side or you could put it on the top. And then, and this one I like, it has the little sort of tag at the top so you can really see, where it is in your book. And I probably could have put it down a little bit, but I didn't there. Let me see if I can do that again so that it's right on the top. So it just sticks out of the top there and you can easily find your place in your book. And same thing with the side. If you wanted to put it on the side, you just put it on the side there. So we're only going to be making one of these, but I wanted to kind of show you them all so that you could see sort of what the variety of these things are. There's so many different things you can do with them. I've seen them that other people have done just with plain paper, and they're very flat, which is fine. But, as us junk journalers, we like to add as much stuff on as we can usually. So as you can see here, you can do them in different widths. So I have one that's about 1 inch wide, and this one I believe is about 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more. No, this one might be 1 3/4 inches. So there's a whole variety of widths that you could do for it, and they're each about 3 inches wide, or long, folded in half. So they're 6 inches, when you open them up. And I've done them in a variety of materials here. So I've used fabric with paper on the inside and some ribbon there with some decorative key on there. So some metal. And then I've done fabric on the inside and the outside there. And this one is all paper, so paper on the inside and outside. There is just a teeny bit of fabric on this one on the crease, just to reinforce it, because as you open and close it, you don't want that paper to rip. And then this one is also mostly just paper. This one has some book page in it as well. And this is the one that we're going to be making. And then this last one I made with some leftover hanging file. And then fabric on the inside. So like I said, there's a ton of different things that you could do depending on the look that you want it to have. And we will go ahead and get started. Let me tell you what you need to make this project. The supplies that we're going to need to make our bookmark are this. So for the pieces of paper, I have a piece of cardstock here, and it's not real thick. It's just a general cardstock that I got in a paper stack. It's a leftover, bit of cardstock. And it is, I measured it out to be 6 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch. And now this is just because that's the size I want my bookmark to be. You could make this any size that you want it to be. That's just the size that I'm going to do today. So you can see, for example, this one, it's also 6 1/4 inches long, but this one I only made 1.5 inches wide. So I like them, both. It just depends on, the aesthetic you're looking for or whatever. So for now, we're going to use 6 1/4 by 1.5. And then for the inside pages, I cut 2 pieces of regular paper. So this is much lighter. This is actually just book page that I had, scrapbook pages. So certainly you can use that as well. Or you can just use any kind of regular scrapbook paper or pattern paper that you have. But these papers are 3 inches by 1 3/4 inch. So together, they don't quite make up the total of the other one, and that's on purpose so that we can leave a little gap in the middle for our fold. And then the other things that you're going to need is a little scrap of fabric that's the same width as your bookmark. So mine is 1 3/4 inch wide, and then it's about an inch tall. So that's going to reinforce our fold on the outside of our bookmark. And then you will also need, this is just a tool, this little binder clip here. This helps hold everything together while the magnets are drying on our paper. And then you'll also need magnets. So right now I have these 10 millimeter by 1 millimeter magnets, and I like them because they're very thin, but they have a lot of surface area, so they stick together nicely. So you can just kind of see as I let them go, they really just pop together, you know, nicely, which is what I want, to be able to hold together, and then on, you know, with having another paper in between them. So that's what I'm using. I've seen people use other ones. I tried using a smaller magnet. So I also have 5 centimeter by 1 millimeter, I'm sorry, 5 millimeter by 1 millimeter thick. So they're about half this size. And that's what I used on this bookmark. And I just really didn't feel like, I mean, while it does, you know, it does go together and stays together, I really didn't feel like it held well enough for me. So I liked using the 10 millimeter by 1 millimeter magnet, and you can see how well this one goes together. It gives a nice snap to keep them together. So those are the magnets we're going to be using. So as I repel them, let's see if I can put them together so they stay together for me. Okay, so that's all of our parts there. You're also going to need some glue. You could use E6000 glue. You can use some art glitter glue. The E6000 glue I'm just going to be using for the magnets. For everything else that we do, that we glue together, I'll probably be using art glitter glue. I may even use my Beacon 3-in-1 glue. It just depends on what I'm doing. And then you'll need, the other thing that you'll need that I don't have shown here is any collage bits or things that you would like, you know, to put on your bookmark. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get these magnets on so that they can start to dry. So I'm going to glue them onto my cardstock piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my cardstock in half. And I'm going to try to crease it real good. I may use my bone folder, but you don't need to do that. And then I'm going to put my magnets on the inside. So to decide where, I'm really just going to do it by eye, but I am going to try to leave them in from the edges as much as I can, because I may want to sew around this. And of course, to sew around it, I want to be sure that, you know, my needle doesn't end up going into my magnet. So I'm going to start with one magnet, and I'm just going to put a little E6000 on the paper itself where I want my magnet to go. And I'm just using a little tiny dab. You don't need that much. And then I'm going to place the magnet on my dot there. And that gives me, maybe it looks like maybe about a 1/2 inch in from the side of the paper, and that'll give me plenty of room if I would want to sew around it, which, you know, I haven't completely decided yet. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my other magnet on top of my magnet that I just glued down. So it goes down very nicely if that's exactly where it wants to be, which is what I want. And then I'm going to take my E6000 again, and we're just going to add another little dab of glue. I'm going to try not to add too much because I don't want it to smush out too much around. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper over now and place that gently on top of the other magnet. So I have both of my magnets in there, and I have my 2 pieces of paper together, folded together. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this binder clip and just kind of gently put it on the paper, so that it'll hold the paper down while my glue dries. And hopefully I haven't let it squeeze out too much. But I'm just going to put this aside now and let that dry for, I don't even know how long. So I'm just going to let it go. I'm probably going to give it like an hour or so. I'm sure you could read the directions and it'll tell you how long it takes. But I'm just going to give it a good amount of time to really get dry, because when we pull it apart, we don't want the magnets to come off. So I'll be back. Okay, it has been about 2 hours, I think. So I just am going to check this, and I'm going to pull it open very carefully just to make sure the glue is dry. But I would think after 2 hours, yep, it's good. So my glue is nice and dry for my magnets. It snaps together nicely. Let's go ahead and do some more work on this. So now I'm done with the E6000. Now let's cover some more of this. So I want to reinforce the spine with this fabric. So we're going to glue that down, but then I also want to cover up these magnets. Now I just cut out some pieces of book pages, and you can see when I put them on there, I'm going to line them up at the outer edges so that there is a little gap in the middle for my fold. And the reason I'm doing that is to make it easy to fold around a book page. So let's go ahead and put these down. I think I am going to do some sewing, but I'm going to put these on first so that the sewing will go around everything. So I'm going to take my glitter glue here, and I'm going to... I'm just checking the book pages because sometimes the words on the page you don't want to be, you know, that are outside, like this one here. Oh boy, yeah. This one just says, and a beautiful bosom. So we're going to do this side out. I think this one looked better. I probably should have checked them before I had cut them out, but we're going to go give it a try here. So. Whoa, maybe I should put it down so I'm not making gloppy glues here. And I'm just going to do a basic glue here since I am going to do some sewing. I do want to kind of get this around the edges though. So I'm going to line this up when I put it down on the edge there and make sure my sides are lined up. And then I'm going to very gently press it down around the magnet. I'm going to try not to crease the magnet in there, but I am just going to kind of push it around to make sure the glue is adhering all around the magnet so that when I sew, I don't end up crinkling up my paper. And let's go ahead and do the same one here. Sorry about that. My phone rang, and when my phone rings, the video turns off. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay. Make sure you have it lined up again. And then once that's down, we just want to make sure it's pretty dry because I don't want my needle on my sewing machine to get all sticky. So I will let this sit for just a minute to kind of dry up a little. But I just wanted to mention, if you want to, at this point, you can do some things with the edges. So if you would want to cut them to make them into, you know, maybe like a tag end, you know, you could do corners to make it look like the edge of a tag if you wanted to. Or you could just do some corner rounding if you wanted to, which I think I actually might do on here. I kind of like the look of a rounded edge. So I'm just going to use one of the, this one has 3 different corner rounds in it, which I love because they're all different angles. And if you want to see the tools and things that I use, you can go to madpapercrush.com/favorites, and I have all my favorites there. And for this particular video, I will put some of the tools that I use down in the description box if you're interested in looking at those as well. And full disclosure, those are affiliate links, which means that if you use those links to make a purchase, I do receive a small percentage of that, but there's no additional charge to you. So here is my bookmark so far. And we've got our papers down, which is looking great. And the last thing I want to do before I sew is I am going to go ahead and put down my little bit of paper, or I'm sorry, bit of fabric here, because I want to be able to sew over it. So for this one, sometimes the glitter glue goes through the fabric a little too much, and I'm just gonna use this Beacon 3-in-1 glue, but I'm just going to use a little bit to kind of be sure it's held down when I put it under the sewing machine. So you don't have to put a whole lot here. You just want enough so that it doesn't move around when you get it onto the sewing machine. And whenever I use the 3-in-1 glue with fabric, I do like to just kind of put my finger over it a little bit, spread it out just a little bit so that it's smooth, so you don't have ridges in your glue there. Okay. So I didn't quite get that centered, did I? Let me see if I can do that again and center it a little bit better than I had it before. All right, and so you center your fabric strip there over your fold. Better than I'm doing here. There we go. I'm just pressing it down real good since I didn't put too much glue on there. And wow, it looks like maybe the glue already dried or something, because it really doesn't want to stick at all. So let me put, you know what, let's do, instead of the Fabrifix, let me just put a little bit of this Oohoo glue, because I think that should be sticky enough to hold it down until we get it into the sewing machine. And once again, I'm going to try to make sure I center it around the fold. Who knew that this little piece would be the hardest of the entire video? Okay. And I like that the torn edge kind of hangs off a little bit on each side, so you can kind of see the frayed edges around the side of the bookmark there. Okay. And that looks better. It's pretty close to centered. So okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a little zigzag stitch all the way around the outside here, being very careful on the edges to make sure I've got my zigzag stitch close to the edge so that I don't, you know, end up pushing my needle through that magnet there. So I will be right back with that. Okay, I have my zigzag stitch done all the way around there, and I'm really liking how it's looking. So the next thing I did was I just pulled out a couple of collage bits that I would like to put on. So when I put this around the page, this will probably be the side that you see the most, because when you would open up a bookmark, you would see this side first. But I don't want the back to be empty either. So I found this butterfly that actually got cut off when I was printing it out. So I just kind of snipped off the bottom there, and I thought I could put that along the edge in the back, and that would give me just some decoration there and pull in the blacks from the fabric there. And then I found this little fussy cut plant flower thing that I had in my stash, and I thought I would put this on this side because they kind of match. And then I thought I would just stamp some words here. So I found a quote in this book of quotes that I have, and I forget who said it. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put it in the description down below if you want to know who said it. But I'm just going to put the words, which are, after wisdom comes wit. So makes me kind of think of myself. I am an Enneagram 5, so that means I love to learn about everything in probably way too much detail, but I love wit too. I love to be funny and to, have knowledge that's funny and that kind of thing. So I'm going to stamp those words on here, and I think I'm going to do them, I want to do them, I think in black, but let me go see what other colors I have. I think I'm going to use my Distress Ink Rusty Hinge. So I think that the orange in that would match some of the colors in here nicely. So I think that's what I'm going to do instead of using just a regular ink. So I'm going to use my capital letters. Let's see how we do here. Sometimes if you've watched some of my videos, you've probably seen me stamp before. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed this up and get my quote down. If you were watching, you see I did stamp things a couple times because I wasn't sure if it was me or the stamp that was like, causing different things to happen. So, and when I first did the word comes there, I didn't really like the letters too much, but the funny thing was when I tried to do the second one, it came out exactly the same way. So I figured I'd just let it go. So, okay. So now I'm just trimming them down so that, just the words are on there, and I'm going to just lay them on here to just make sure they're going to fit, oops, the way I think they are in the order that they should be. It shouldn't go upside down. Okay, and I don't want to, I think I'm going to cut them down even more. There's a little room on the top here, just because I don't want to cover up. I want to try to leave as much of my little plant here that I can. So, oops, I got that one already. And this one I may even trim down on this side so that they're a little bit closer. Okay. Yeah, I think I like this better, like have almost everything not covering up my little plant there. Maybe we'll cut this down a little more so that it's not the same size as Wisdom. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to distress the edges just lightly on these two, just to kind of knock off the white a little bit. This one I'll probably leave the inside white, so I'm just going to do the very edges. And then for this one, let me grab my, maybe, oh yeah, I have this little Faber-Castell Pitt pen because sometimes it's hard to hold this and distress it so that it shows. I may try to use the brush on it just a little bit, but I'm just going to take this Pitt pen and just kind of rub it along the edges to give it a little bit of a start of a distressed look so that it's, you know, set apart from the rest of the collage there. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up and we'll get distressing. Okay, let's glue these things on here. If I have fussy cut things, I often like to use my glitter glue. I may have said that before, just because I feel like that really skinny nozzle helps me get the glue on those little pieces that may not be glued down otherwise. Oops, and this one is going to hang off. And of course I put glue all the way down, but we'll cut that off. Just kind of wipe that off. I'm going to cut that edge off once it dries a little bit. And wait, before I do that, I just wanted to see if I could put just a teeny bit of distress on these. And I'll take the fuzzy off of there. Okay. And I think I'm just going to put these, I don't want them exactly straight. I kind of want them a little bit cockeyed, I think. And then I can overlap them just a touch. And then maybe the last one I'll just put straight there, all by its lonesome. Okay, and I think that's going to be just about it. I am going to just go around the whole thing inside and out with some distress ink, of course. I hope that you didn't expect something different from me, at least not right now. I do like to distress just about everything, and so just about everything. And as I'm going around, I'm also making sure I get the flat edges here in case there's any white or, whoops, this guess I can trim that off now. To make sure that everything comes together kind of cohesively there. Okay. And now you could probably do some collage on the inside if you wanted to as well. I would just suggest that you avoid the magnets, because they will, you know, get weaker and weaker the more that you put, you know, in between them. So just be careful with that. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this will go in your book. So I have my journal here, and I'm just going to find a page. Let's just use this page. It doesn't have too much in it there. I think there is a pocket on the other side, but so all I would do is I would take my, oh my goodness, and look at what I did, which I didn't even realize. My words are upside down in my bookmark. So be careful when you do that. If you want your words right side up, that you make sure you do your front and your back with your words right side up. I guess after I sewed, I didn't have it the right way, but that's okay. So you can see, there it goes, and it'll stay in my book there. And I could even put a note or something on there. I don't have a note right next to me here, but I'll just put this little piece of paper there. You could, you know, hold a piece of paper in there if you wanted to as well. And you could also, I mean, I put mine so that the words are sideways so that it would go on the side of the page, but you could certainly also do one where you would, you know, not have that, and you could go up and down on the page. And you can see this is a piece of cardstock, so it does hold pretty nicely. So there you have it. Since we only made one of these, I just wanted to just talk about these other ones a little bit in case you were interested in trying to do them on your own. This one is basically the same. So it's paper on the inside and the outside. There's cardstock here, and then, you know, 2 regular pieces of scrapbook paper on the inside with the magnets. I did just use my corner chomper to chomp those corners there, just in case. But then also, before I put these papers on, I did a little collage, and I used a brad in this one. So this one has a little brad in the middle of the flower there. So you can feel it on this side. The brad is there, but I did cover it with the paper. So that's kind of how that one was done. And then this one is fabric on the inside and the outside. Now the collage, there's some book page and some stamped paper and some fussy cut items that are just glued on. But the outside and the inside is both fabric. And between the fabric is some cardstock. So it's just 2 pieces of fabric and that piece of cardstock that are in here. So the layers for this one is the blue fabric, then the cardstock, and I actually put these pieces of fabric on using carpet tape, so kind of like a fabric washi kind of thing. So the blue fabric is down first, then some of the carpet tape, and then the cardstock, and then the magnets are on the cardstock, and then the additional fabric for the inside is on top of that. So that's kind of how the layers went for that one. And I think this one holds really well, like the other ones. And then this one is fabric on the outside. Once again, same kind of fabric tape. I used carpet tape to make the fabric washi kind of thing. And then on the inside of this one is paper, is the scrapbook paper. And all I did in this one was, in the middle of my 6-inch piece, I just punched a little hole and put my sari ribbon through and kind of cut it a little bit. And if I would have done this differently, I might have put the end underneath the paper, but I didn't. So I just took the end of the ribbon and just sewed it down to make sure that it wouldn't come out. I didn't want to glue it or anything, but I wanted to be sure that ribbon was secure so it wouldn't come out. So I just sewed it down on the inside there. And then I just E6000 a key onto the front of that one too. And then this last one is the hanging file folder. So actually this one, I actually cut 2 pieces of file folder. So it's not one full piece. There's one piece here, which is about 3 inches, and one piece here, which is about 3 inches. And then I put them together with a little bit of a gap. So like 1/8 of an inch gap in between, and sewed the fabric on to the 2 pieces. And then on the hanging file folder is the magnets. And then I laid another piece of fabric down on top of that and glued that on top. So, and this one was, actually, I don't think I used the carpet tape on this one. I just used some of the Fabrifix, the 3-in-1 glue, to put the fabric down on the opposite side of my hanging file folder. And then this one, I just made a little hole punch there with an eyelet with some string and glued that on. And then, you know, just glued on some of my words and things. So that's how these other ones were done. If you're interested in making some of your own, hopefully this gives you some inspiration to do some of your own. I hope you enjoyed this little video to create these magnetic bookmarks. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you again in the next video. Thanks for hanging out today, friends. Bye-bye.